The following program contains explicit American history. If you suffer from stupidity, Randall may not be right for you. Check with your revisionist historian.
Standing for truth in the four corners of America. Fighting for justice on the frontiers of the culture wars. And turning resistance into an art form. The only TV host arrested more times than Mahatma Gandhi, Randall Terry.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a special edition of Randall Terry, the voice of resistance. We begin today a three-part series, Life and Liberty under God, as our nation careens towards disaster. Many of us are preoccupied, even worried about the future. There is a day of reckoning coming, a day of basically a cultural and political ash heap. However, somebody has to rebuild on top of that ash heap. Who will it be? I hope to use these programs to equip you to help rebuild this country under the principles of life and liberty under God. Today's program is brought to you in part by Charles Darwin, who taught us all that we're nothing but the chance arrangement of molecules that gathered together and climbed out of a primal swamp. And by Friedrich Nietzsche, who took Darwin's philosophy to its logical conclusion and said, hey, let's kill the weak and useless among us and come up with a superhuman race. I'll be right back after a quick word from my good friend, Sir Reginald Blaine. Just turn the thing on, I got something to say. Do you want to be well-fed? You want to have a nice roof over your head? Well, all you have to do is turn to Uncle Sam. Uncle Sam says, listen, you can live in that house, but you got to pay land taxes, and if you don't, we're throwing you out. So you don't own that land, you a sharecropper. Yeah, you a squatter. Well, what about food? You can work hard and get your food, or if you don't feel like working, you can come get some food stamps. We'll take the food to you. Take it from that man who's working and give it to you. Well, here's the situation. You can either be a free man and make it on your own, maybe help your neighbor, help your family, or you can get on your pathetic little hands and knees and go to the government and say, Uncle Sam, I'll behave. I want you to take care of me. Just please give me some of what that other man has. That's all I need. I need you, Uncle Sam. Welcome, friend, to the broadcast. As you know, my vision for you, my agenda, is never hidden. I want you to be the dread of evil men and women, the dread of demons themselves. I want you to have your name known in hell. Now, for that to happen, you have to be a threat to hell, and you have to do things that agitate and confront and hopefully bring defeat to evil men and women. The purpose of this series, Life and Liberty Under God, for the next 3 days, is to give you some of the philosophical weaponry that you will need to settle in your heart what matters. There is a hierarchy of good and evil, and depending on which philosophical framework you work from, well, that would depend, or rather that would bring the conclusion of what is the most important thing. If someone is a Marxist, the most important thing is to bring an end to class warfare and for the equal distribution of goods throughout the human race. If you are a Malthusian lunatic, your goal is to reduce the size of the human race, because mankind is, after all, the enemy of the earth, and to bring about a utopia in which an elite few get to decide who lives and who dies and who has the right to even have offspring. So, philosophy matters. Now, without going further into some of the philosophies of our enemies, rather than teach you the counterfeit, I want to take the next 3 days to teach you the real thing. I trust you know that when somebody works for the Secret Service in the counterfeiting division, they spend an enormous amount of time studying real currency. They never study fakes. Because if you study the real thing, you can identify a fake like that. So let's study the real thing. We begin Life and Liberty under God. When we speak of life, we're not just speaking about a life force. I mean, after all, trees are alive, animals are alive. We're talking about human life. What makes human life different than animal life or plant life? Well, there are some people who believe that really and truly there is no difference. We're all just here, as I mentioned at the beginning of the program. Some people believe that human beings are different because of our dexterity, the use of our thumbs. Some people believe that we're different because we have self-consciousness. Some believe we're different because we can think and reason and communicate verbally in a way that is far different from the animal kingdom. Well, clearly, all of these differences between us and animals or plants do exist, although it could be argued that some people in Washington have the IQ of plant life, that insult notwithstanding. What separates us from other living organisms is that the human being, and the human being alone, is made in the image of God. We are created by God in His image. Obviously, God created plants and animals, but He did not make them in His image and in His likeness. You've heard the expression, human life is sacred. You've heard many people talk about the greatness of human life. Well, what makes human life awesome, and really in a theological and philosophical sense, what makes it sacred, is that we are created by God to know Him and to love Him and to serve Him in this life and the next. Now, conversely, if we were not made in the image of God, then truly, many of the philosophers and the political activists who have scattered the world for hundreds of years, who deny the existence of God and think that man is something like a cattle or chattel property to move about at his will. Well, if we're not made in God's image, then they're right. If we are not unique because of our origin and because of our maker, then at the end of the day, human life really is just an accident. And what we do with our lives really doesn't have much meaning, does it? To give you an illustration of how sacred human life is, when Noah and his sons and their wives got off of the ark, God had very little to say to them and really very few commands. But one of those commands was quite severe. He said, "Whoso sheddeth man's blood, by man his blood shall be shed, for in the image of God made he man." The reason that God instituted capital punishment for murder was directly tied to the fact that men are made in His image and are therefore unique and separate from the entire animal kingdom. Truly, we can eat animals. It's not a murder to kill an animal. It's certainly not cannibalism to kill and eat an animal, because God gave us animals and plant life for food. Now, in the Declaration of Independence, it says, "We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal and are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights. Among them are the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness." One of the reasons that we're calling this series Life and Liberty Under God is because of that phrase that comes directly from our own Declaration of Independence. The founders of this country understood that we, number one, had a Creator, and that He endowed us with rights, the right to life being paramount, and then liberty, and then the pursuit of happiness, or the ownership of property. There is a hierarchy of ethics and of what things have value, intrinsic value. There's an old Jewish saying that says, if you kill one man, it's as if you killed the whole world. There's another Jewish saying that says, if you save one man's life, it's as if you saved the whole world. The reason our Declaration says this, the reason that these Jewish sayings exist, is because those thinkers, those philosophers, those political activists understood that human life is sacred because it is made by God. We are made in His image, and we are endowed with the right to life. And no one can take that right away from us. Now, America is careening into perhaps political oblivion. For sure, we're going to have some rough days ahead of us. When we come back from this break, I'm going to talk to you about the direct connection between the disasters that are befalling us now and the far greater disasters which are coming, specifically because we have betrayed the sacredness of human life. Don't go away, I'll be right back.
Randall and I were watching a presidential broadcast when he turned to me and said, "How can I express my contempt for this man without using language too foul for broadcast?" I said, "That's easy, Randall. Just say, Johnson is a perfect example of why there's so many more of those than there are of horses."
Moments with Moses. If you walk contrary to me, and will not hearken to me, I will bring more plagues upon you, sevenfold as many as your sins.
Welcome back, friend. Do you understand what incredible intrinsic value you have? You know how valuable you are in the eyes of God? You are so valuable that God the Son, our Lord Jesus Christ, shed His blood for you. A lot of people are taught from their youth up, you're of no use. What good are you? Well, God made you in His image, and God thinks you're of such great value that He was willing to become a man and to die for you. God did not come to the earth to die for animals or for plants. He came to die for human beings, because it is we who are made in His image to love and to serve Him. Well, of course, the argument goes, well, when does human life begin? Well, there's two answers to that. One is very simple. Biologically, human life begins at conception. At that moment, when the ovum and the sperm unite, there is a unique human being with 46 chromosomes, 30,000 genes, the size of the person's shoe, the color of their eyes, the color of their hair, their gender. It's all there in that one cell. Human life begins at the beginning. That is a living organism, and the only thing that one cell human being has between it and an old man is time and food and protection. That's it. Biblically, the Hebrew word and the Greek word for a born baby and an unborn baby are the very same word. In Jeremiah chapter 1, it's clear that God creates a human being at conception. Psalm 139, it's clear. David spoke of God knitting him together in the hidden part of his mother's womb. There's no doubt, both scientifically and theologically from the Scriptures, that human life begins at conception. Now, we've talked about Noah. We've talked about God saying to him, don't kill people. Throughout the Scriptures, there's this theme of innocent blood crying from the ground after an innocent person has been murdered. In America, we have a crisis happening. And the crisis is not just that we have 50 million babies. That is our ultimate evil that we're committing. There's a lesser crisis, and that is that people of faith and people of goodwill have lost the ability to reason in this manner. They cannot determine what matters most to heaven and on earth. You have people who voted for Barack Obama or for other men and women in office. We have Christians, evangelical Christians, Catholic Christians, who said, I love Jesus, but I'm voting for this person, even though they knew that they would kill babies. What this shows is a defect in their ability to think, in their ability to reason, and the fact that they cannot discern the hierarchy of ethics. If you would betray human life with your vote for the sake of money, what does that say about you? What does that say about your ability to reason? Conversely, we must create a new generation of political leaders. Maybe you, yes, you, I'm talking to you, maybe you, sir, or you, ma'am, you will become one of the Deborahs or one of the Jephthahs or Gideons who leads this nation back to righteousness. We need a new generation of political leaders who understand that while the economy is important and dealing with our economic crisis and our debt is important and our foreign policy is important, nothing is as paramount as the protection of innocent human life, just like our Declaration alludes to. What I'm going to show you right now, moms, dads, if you've got small children in the room, I suggest that you scoot them out. We're going to show you 3 political ads from 3 political candidates that focus directly on restoring the protection of law to unborn babies. This is politically, ethically, spiritually, culturally, our most important objective for the whole country. And so I'm going to play these 3 commercials back to back from 3 candidates. We need these kind of candidates if we are going to restore this republic. Andrew, roll the commercials.
I killed 2 of my babies by abortion. I was told, it's not a baby. They lied to me. They exploited me. Then I learned the truth, and I've suffered for years. And believe me, I am angry. My heart has been ripped out. Obama, Pelosi, Reed, Norton, they all support the murder of babies and the abuse of women by abortion. It's time to make child killing illegal again. I'm Missy Smith, and I approve this message.
America treats children like garbage. Whether toddlers like Kaylee Anthony or babies murdered by abortion, children end up in dumpsters. We have become a savage nation. And if you vote for candidates who support abortion, you have blood on your hands. We must protect babies with our vote, not just worry about our pocketbooks. We must elect candidates who will make child killing illegal. I'm Angela Michael, and I approve this message.
Slavery, child labor, segregation. These images are burned in our memories so we can say, never again. But it is happening again. A Holocaust in America. The slaughter of babies by abortion. This is murder, and President Obama perpetuates this massacre. Open your eyes, don't harden your heart. We must make child killing illegal. I'm Randall Terry, and I approve this message.
You can see from these commercials that they're true, that they're hard-hitting, they're focused, and they give human life its proper place, its proper dignity, its proper priority in the political debate. I'm going to take a quick break. We cannot hide from these images, friends. We cannot hide from these images. God wants us to see them because He knows that it provokes our consciences and provokes us to love and good works. When we come back from this break, we'll lighten it up a little bit with a song about the amendments. Where do our rights come from? From the Constitution? I'm not so sure. You don't want to watch this. Don't go.
Don't beat me no more, Mr. President. Don't beat my body no more, Mr. President. I'll obey you.
Hi, Joe Costello here, founder of Kylea Health and Energy. I want to share with you a product that has changed hundreds of thousands of lives.
Introducing the Total Living Drinks, Greens and Berry, the ultimate superfood formulas that provide you the 9 daily essential areas of nutrition your body needs. Each scoop provides the life-giving phytonutrients that come from the equivalent of 5 servings of organic vegetables and berries, probiotics for better intestinal function, antioxidants for disease prevention, and vitamins and minerals for establishing maximum health. Order now and get started on the Total Living Drink. When you do, a generous gift will go to Randall Terry's organization to help further his work and further the kingdom. Order online and receive an online discount or call the toll-free number. Call today and enjoy maximum health and energy.
A nation without a conscience is a nation without a soul. A nation without a soul is a nation that cannot live. Sir Winston Churchill.
Isn't it fun just to make it up as you go? I'll be right back with a word from George Washington. He understood who the boss was.
Friend, we do it right because we do it twice. The 14th Amendment is so we can kill babies. The First Amendment is for gay marriage, and the Second Amendment is freedom from religion. What a great Bill of Rights we have. The Third Amendment gives us free health care. The Fourth Amendment bails out the banks. The Fifth Amendment gives the FBI power. What a great Bill of Rights we have. Do you know your amendments? Do you know what makes this country great? George Washington, Tommy Jefferson, they fought so we could all be slaves. The Sixth Amendment is the right to a new house. The Seventh Amendment is cash for clunkers. And the Eighth Amendment is the dollar for the euro. What a great Bill of Rights we have. The Ninth Amendment is the right to free college. The 10th Amendment tells the states, shut up, sit down. The 11th Amendment guarantees diversity. A great Bill of Rights we have. Do you know your amendments? Do you know what makes this country great? George Washington, Tommy Jefferson, they fought so we could all be slaves. The 12th Amendment is tolerance for Islam. The 13th Amendment is for bad luck. And the 14th Amendment is so we can kill babies. What a great Bill of Rights we have. I love this country.
Isn't it fun just to make it up as you go? I'll be right back with a word from George Washington. He understood who the boss was.
Save me, O God, by thy name, and judge me in thy strength. For strangers have risen up against me, and the mighty have sought after my soul, and they have not set God before their eyes.
George Washington said, "The propitious smiles of heaven can never be expected on a nation that disregards the eternal rules of order and right, which heaven itself has ordained." Friend, the reason that human life is valuable, and the reason that the protection of human life in our laws must come first and be our first priority, is because heaven itself has ordained it. The worst crime that people can commit on this planet is murder. And the most important thing they can do is to protect the innocent.